What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and today we're headed into the woods to watch Cocaine Bear.
Rawr.
Cocaine Bear.
Rawr. Dude. Yeah, but first, before we get into that, we've got a little bit of movie news. Yeah, so first off, I found out Jordan Peele's fourth movie will be releasing Christmas of 2024. Looks like it's coming out Christmas Day, even.
Oh, is it Christmas Day? Okay.
December 25th,
Wow.
2024. Universal Pictures will be putting that out. But before that, he's also got an untitled monkey paw horror thriller set for release. I guess that his company's putting out on Friday, September 27th of 2024.
Okay.
So he's at least producing something else.
Yeah.
Prior, but he's got another film himself coming out on the 25th of 2024. Now, we're not quite for sure yet if it's going to be another horror film. I mean, that's kind of been his thing.
Yeah.
Lately, but with it coming out on Christmas, it could be a play on Christmas. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. We will keep you guys updated the more we find out about this. But as of right now, that's what I know.
Okay.
Speaking of films coming out, Guillermo del Toro is going to be doing his take on Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster, Frankenstein himself.
Nice.
He's doing his own adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for Netflix. He just did that Cabinets of Curiosity on there, which I still haven't watched yet.
Yeah, me neither.
That series. But looks like we are going to be seeing Oscar Isaac as one of the characters in it. Andrew Garfield.
Nice.
Which I think will be great. If Andrew Garfield played Frankenstein and Oscar Isaac as the monster, that would be awesome. But
yeah, I can see that.
To add along with it,
I could also see it the other way around, honestly.
That too. We've also got Mia Goth.
Of course.
Into the mix. So we don't know much else about all of what's coming out from it yet, but these are all the people who are potentially lined up for this. So we will have to see. That would be a stacked cast.
Yeah, for sure.
If that works out. But anyway, yeah, I'd be interested to see his take on Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure.
Most definitely. But do you have any movie news for this week? Anything whatsoever?
Not anything major. I did note, I saw yesterday that Ghostbusters Firehouse has started filming or will start filming soon.
Firehouse. Now, is that at all a follow-up to...
It's the sequel to
Paul Rudd?
Yeah, it's the sequel to Afterlife, yeah.
Okay. Now, see, I still haven't even watched that one.
I really like that one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think
I'm not just looking away from the camera for no reason. I'm actually doing something. And I had something come up. I'm sorry. Continue, sir.
I think one of the characters in there was only put into the movie because of his popularity from
you mean
a certain
Finn,
Netflix show.
Whatever from Stranger Things?
Yeah.
We can say
his character serves basically no function in the movie, as far as I'm concerned. But whatever.
Well, as of right now, even on Stranger Things, his character's pretty much no function.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Right on. Yeah, I still haven't seen it, and which is odd for me because I will pretty much watch anything that Paul Rudd's in.
Yeah,
and I say that. Not seeing any of the Ant-Man movies.
Oh, you haven't seen those?
I haven't seen any of the Ant-Man movies.
Okay,
no,
wow. Yeah, that surprises me.
Yeah, well, I'm full of surprises.
Yeah,
But
I really liked the first one. It was
yeah,
goofy, you know. It was corny, but I really liked it. And then the credits come up, and it's like filmed by Edgar Wright, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there you
I
go.
love Edgar. I love Edgar Wright. So it's
Yeah.
like it's, but
Well, the
I mean,
screenplay was by him, I
the
think, but
screenplay was, yeah, he didn't direct it.
right.
Yeah, because he backed out not too long before it began, from what I remember.
Yeah. Probably a good call.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I think that's it for this week's movie news. Sorry, I literally, while we were doing the movie news, I went, I don't have my notes for this
Oh,
week's film up here at all, and I had them on my phone because that's where
okay.
I always take my notes. I had to like email them to my computer, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. I thought I was on the ball this morning, but
Yeah.
I guess not. You guys get to hear me read off stuff from IMDb today.
All right.
That's how on the ball I am, in fact. So, anyway, this week, like we do every week, we'll go ahead and just jump straight in. This will be a spoiler full episode. We talk about the films scene by scene. We break down the things that work, things that don't work. And so just bear through it. Speaking of bears, this week we are talking about the film Cocaine Bear.
Based on a true story.
Based on true events.
Oh, is that what it said?
Events, yes. This was written by Jimmy Warden and directed by Elizabeth Banks.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
I personally feel like that becomes obvious, but whatever, we'll get there.
You mean the fact that this felt more like a family comedy with some gore elements to it?
No, but
Oh, okay. I'm interested to see where you find the Elizabeth Banksness out of this.
yeah,
That's a thing now. I trademarked it.
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, the film starts off. We've got a guy throwing duffel bags of coke out of a small plane. Apparently, he's planning on stealing these himself.
Was that the context? Because I really wasn't sure if they established why this was happening.
I couldn't figure out why it was happening at first, but then after the film, I thought about it. I was like, why did he do this? So what he's doing is he's throwing all these bags of cocaine out. He's supposed to be flying it from point A to point B.
Right.
Okay? From one basically drug lord to another to get all these drugs distributed. Well, I believe his plan was to throw these things out into the forest. He's going to parachute out.
Yeah.
He's going to know where all of it is. The plane crashes. They think all the coke's gone. They think he's gone. He's dead. Blew up in the crash and all that sort of stuff. He gets away with all the drugs. He can, put them out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fit. That's what I see from it.
Yeah.
But as he's about ready to jump out of the plane, since he's all coked up and dancing around, he ends up knocking himself out and falling out of the plane, and chute doesn't come open.
Yeah.
And and then as soon as he knocks himself out, we see him fall out, and then it just says based on true events come up on the screen. Then it says black bears aren't as protective territorially, but if you do get attacked, your chances of surviving are better if you fight back than submitting. Source, Wikipedia. And I was like, that's kind of funny.
That's pretty funny.
We're looking at a comedy at this point.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, a horror comedy isn't bad. We've got I believe it's Chattahoochee National Forest. Set in 1985. This is in Georgia. We see a couple hiking, kind of having some fun.
Yeah. The guy is dressed like he thinks it's still the 70s, though.
Yes, and I'm trying. He plays Christopher. Also, they called him Olaf as well, which I
Yeah.
thought was kind of funny. Because she, the woman, is Elsa. So we've got Kristoff, Olaf, and
Are you
Elsa.
serious?
Yeah. And I was like, come on, man. But
I did not catch
Christopher,
that.
or
Wow.
Olaf, actually played by Christopher Hifju, from oh, I went blank. I could just click on him in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
So
okay.
he played one of the Northmen from there. Hannah Hostroga played Elsa. She was in the new Charlie's Angels movie. Oh, she was in Cocaine Bear. And yep, I don't think anybody's seen any of those movies because they look like they're all in Russian. Anyway, so if you guys want to find out more about her, because she's not in the movie for long, no
No, she's
spoilers
not.
there. But anyway, so we see them hiking. They're talking about their wedding plans, so they're going to be getting married soon. Then they step on this like huge paw print.
Yeah.
They end up making it to their destination. It's this beautiful vantage point. They can see all over the valley and all this sort of stuff. And then they see this black bear scratching its back on a tree. She's like, "Get your camera out! Get your camera out!" They're both like Norwegian or Swedish or
Yeah.
Danish or something. Ooh, now I want a Danish, like a cheese Danish with
Yeah.
like some fruit. That'd be good. Um, anyway, so the bear scratching his back. He gets out his camera, and she's like, "We have such good luck in nature." Um, and I kind of want to go to IKEA
The
now.
bear like dances toward them as it's going toward the tree that it's scratching its back against. Though
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
like
like
up on two
dancing.
legs and like dancing toward them. It's like what?
Yeah, yeah, because you're like, "What's going on?" And then it goes up to this other tree and like punches it, and then starts headbutting it.
Yeah.
Bam, bam. And he's like, "This bear's demented." And she's like, "He's not demented." And she takes the camera and she sees it like rubbing its belly up against the tree. And then the bear looks over and sees them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, oh no." And the bear starts coming towards him. It gets closer and closer. Um, and then she's like, "What do we do? What do we do?" And he goes, "Black, fight back. Brown, lay down." So
Yeah.
supposedly, I was like, "Oh, okay. So if I'm in the woods and I see a black bear, I'm gonna punch it."
Yeah.
Um,
And to be clear,
like,
you said that it starts getting closer and closer, but
yeah,
it's really that it's at the tree. They look away, and as soon as they look back, it's like right in front of it. So it basically teleports over to them.
yes, yes, and yes, it does. I was like, I'm not going to try to explain that, but okay. Sure. So he's like, "I think we have to fight it." And he's like, "Whatever you do, don't." And Elsa goes, "Run!" And then
Yeah.
she just takes off running. And then the bear starts chasing them. They're both running through the woods. He does what Shane's favorite line is.
Olaf tripped over a horror movie.
There you go. The bear lunges, grabs her,
Yeah.
grabs Elsa, like jumps over Olaf.
Yeah, tripping over the horror movie actually benefited him at this
Yeah.
point because
Yeah.
it lunges and it just like launches right over him.
Yep. It grabs her, drags her off into the brush, and just rips her apart in the bushes. We don't see it,
No.
but you hear it. And then you just see like her leg get
Yeah.
thrown back in front of Olaf. And Olaf's like, "Oh," and he runs away. The bear gets up, is like, "Rah!" And then we see Cocaine Bear, the big title screen. And then a butterfly comes in. It's like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
and it gets distracted. And you can see this whole time when it's up close that it's got like white powdery stuff like on its face.
Yeah.
It's like there's remnants of snow on its face.
Yeah.
Then we see a drug PSA from the 80s. It's got
One that I
like,
remember.
yeah, it's like, this is your brain. It's like a frying pan. It's like, this is your brain on drugs. And then we get like Pee Wee Herman in it. And
Yeah.
he's like saying, he's like, drugs aren't cool, you know.
I
and all this.
remember all these PSAs, dude.
And then there was some guy that I don't remember who he is, and he's like, "What up, jive turkeys?" But then he says something, and then I'm just like, I don't know what. I don't remember it. Anyway, there's a news report, and this actually is a real footage.
Yeah.
From it's Tom Brokaw talking about this drug whatever, and how he fell to his death and was throwing all these drugs out into the into the national forest and all that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's real footage. This was taken from...
He like, the guy from the beginning landed in someone's driveway, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's real news footage.
Yeah, his parachute did not open.
Yeah.
And so he just smack right into that driveway.
Yeah.
So he did not land anywhere near the national park. Anyway, there's a detective. He's coming up. He's on the scene. He's gonna look into this. He's trying to figure out like what happened to all the drugs. Then they had some of it on him, but what happened to the rest of them?
Yeah.
So, which that scene, there's not a whole lot to get it. I mean, there's a scene, but
yeah.
There's a detective. Yeah. Then we see the drug lord Sid. He's meeting with one of his lackeys, David. Sid is played by Ray Liotta.
Yes, the late Ray Liotta. One of his last roles. I think there's still a few upcoming.
Is there?
Because
I couldn't remember if this was his last one or not. But he plays Sid, the drug lord, and O'Shea Jackson plays David. I mean, of course, Ray Liotta. I mean, he's been in like everything, clear back from Goodfellas and all sorts of stuff. O'Shea played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton. He was in Godzilla King of the Monsters. He was in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Cool. So he's done a bunch of stuff too. So they are actually meeting at an arcade because Sid is watching his grandson and having to take care of him.
Well, it's like a movie because there's a theater in the background. So I don't know if it's
there? Okay.
Yeah, it's a theater with an arcade and a food court or something.
Yeah, and a food. So it's like almost at a mall setting type thing. Yeah,
something like that.
So they're meeting at this arcade. He's talking about how the drugs were dropped over Chattahoochee, and he's like, "Go get them. Pick up Eddie." Eddie is his son who'd gotten out of the drug game, but Eddie's wife had just died. Named Joan, and she had just died, but they hadn't told the kid yet. and so Sid's been watching the kid while Eddie's in mourning, and he's like, well, go get Eddie and go get the drugs and blah, blah, blah. Next we see a mom talking to her daughter about a trip that they're going to take to see her new boyfriend or new interests band play in Nashville, but they were supposed to go paint this waterfall. You were going to say something.
Huh?
I said you were going to say something. I could see it.
Okay.
The mom's played by Carrie Russell.
Okay, well, now I'll say something.
Now you'll say stuff. Go ahead, tell it.
And like I said on Twitter, that means that this movie could end up being bad. It's scientifically impossible for it to be terrible, just because Carrie Russell's in it. So.
Just because Carrie Russell's in it? Yeah, I guess we got a fan. Carrie Russell, of course, from Felicity. She was in the film The Waitress, which had
great movie
in it. Yay! Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Mission Impossible 3, Free State of Jones.
She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a ton of stuff. Yeah, it's Carrie Russell.
Yeah.
You guys know who Carrie Russell is. The young girl is Brooklyn Prince. Her name's Dee Dee. Dee Dee was in. She was the voice of Zoe from Angry Birds 2, Lego Movie 2.
Okay.
Some other stuff. Anyway, she's young actress. She's new. There you go. Did we ever? I guess Kerry Russell's character was named Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. It's
we never get her name though.
I actually didn't notice it until I actually had to look it up on IMDb.
Yeah,
but I don't remember hearing it. I was just calling her Carrie for a while.
I just referred to her as Mom throughout the whole thing because, So we got Mom and Dee Dee, but she even refers to her as Mom later. I mean, of course, but but we never get her name throughout the whole film.
If we do, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, she never says it to anybody. Even when they said, "Who are you?" and she's like, "I'm a mom."
Yeah.
At other points, so it's like she never says her name. So they're supposed to be going to see this boyfriend play in a band in Nashville, but it's the same weekend that I guess Sorry and Dee Dee were supposed to go paint a waterfall in a national park.
We did get the love interest's name, Ray. He's I don't remember what he does, but we got his name.
He works. He's like in pediatrics. He's a podiatrist. He's either in pediatrics or a podiatrist. I know it started with a P.
One of those doctor people.
Yeah, and
pharmacist. I don't even know.
And the mom's a nurse. So I mean, she works nights. She works whatever.
I just thought it was funny that we got his name, and I had to look up her name.
Yeah, and he's not even in the movie.
No, in one little scene that's not even a flashback. It's more just like a cutaway. That's what it is. That's a cutaway.
I don't even remember it.
Yeah, it's a cutaway.
She gives him a hug or something like that.
Something like that.
While they're talking about it. Yeah, they're talking about it. That's right. So they're supposed to go paint a waterfall, whatever the hell that means.
I know. I don't get it.
In a national park.
Yeah.
You don't deface national parks, for one.
I literally thought this whole time, I know that she kept saying the falls or something, but I had it in my head that they were going to go paint a fountain or something. Because that's
were they literally going to go paint it like they were going to go look at it and paint it?
Yeah, but see, that's why it got in my head that they were going to go paint a fountain, because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they're going to make the base of a fountain, they're going to paint or something. And it wasn't until later in the movie that I actually thought, wait a minute, they're talking about painting the falls. What?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
In my mind, I'm going they're going to go up and just start painting all over the rocks.
I know.
And all this sort of stuff and all this. And I'm like, why are they doing that? And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, were they going to go sit out there and actually sketch it and paint it and so they could take it home and frame it? And that could be.
That might be. Okay, yeah.
That makes a lot more sense in my brain now. Anyway,
later in the movie, when Mom, she's talking to the Rangers, who we'll get to, she even says they were going to go paint the falls. I'm like, why would you tell them that? And why wouldn't the Rangers be like, you can't paint the falls?
Exactly. Exactly. So, okay. I wasn't the only one who's.
Wow, you just cleared up a part of the movie for me.
Man, there's so many things that after the fact, I'm like, okay, this makes sense now. Yeah. After actually looking back and thinking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, next we're at a St. Louis 5 bar, according to my notes, as opposed to St. Louis Dive Bar.
A 5 bar.
A 5 bar. My phone wants a 5 bar, I guess. David is meeting up with Eddie, Sid's son. Eddie's just like, I miss her so much. Yeah. And David's like, no, we got to go find these drugs. And he's like, I don't do that anymore. He's like, no, we're going to.
He got a tattoo. He got a tattoo of her. And it's like, they spelled it wrong. It says John.
Yeah, so now he's got the word John instead of Joan tattooed on him. And I'm like, oh my word, this is going to be, not only is this going to be like a comedy one, it's going to be like one of those stupid slapsticky kind of comedies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's taken it to that point.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Meet the Deedles? It was
never heard of it.
Oh my word. It was like an old Paul Walker movie. And it was like set in a national forest. They were like park ranger-y type dudes, but they were also surfers. And anyway,
heard of it.
It's a good movie, but it's like, if you think of those like slapstick comedy movies that you watched when you were like younger, like as a kid, that's what this movie reminded me of, just with like more gore.
Yeah.
It's like Apple Dumpling Gang to like the 9th level. It's like, we gotta go find the whatevers. And then they're like, the bad guys are coming, they're gonna get you, and all this sort of stuff. And then it's like, they're coming to get the drugs, and the kids are like, I'm gonna get them first, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where was I? 5 bar. Dee Dee skips school. Dee Dee's the daughter. She's gonna go paint the waterfall because the mom's not gonna go with her, so she skips school, and her friend Henry goes along with her. Henry is played by Christian Convery. He was the dude from Sweet Tooth. Okay. Which I just heard is getting a second season of that too. It's coming out.
Never heard of it.
I think it's Netflix. Is it on Netflix?
Okay.
The kid has like horns. Yeah, it's on Netflix. The kid has horns and all this sort of stuff, and he's like half human, half deer. And is like a post-apocalyptic world with other hybrids and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, it's supposed to be a good show. I haven't watched it. Eddie is played by Alden. Oh, geez, I'm gonna mess this last name up. Ehrenreich. Ehrenreich?
No idea.
Ehrenreich. Ehrenreich. Aaron.
Well, that sounds like Reich. You know, like
yeah.
Ehrenreich. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, he was in Brave New World, Solo. Oh, he was Han Solo from the Solo Han Solo movie. Okay, Hail Caesar, Running Wild, Blue Jasmine, Teenage. That's where I'd seen him. Okay, I didn't watch Solo, but that I was like, this dude looks so familiar.
Yeah,
and that's who he was. Okay. Anyway, she goes up there with Henry, and they're walking off. All right. So now the detective has been waiting. He's on the phone. He has been waiting for his like partner dog. He keeps talking about having like a dog.
Yeah.
He wants a dog that he's gonna have with him. Remember, it's the 80s. This is Turner and Hooch time. Okay. Yeah. We're talking Tom Hanks, big dog. They're gonna go solve crimes. Okay. This guy wants a dog that he can take around with him. And they end up sending him a Shih Tzu, like a little poodle Shih Tzu. And he's like, I think I got the wrong dog. And anyway, it's got like a little bow on its head. It's all white and floppy looking. It looks like a mop. So he hands it off to like, it's not necessarily his partner, but it's like someone at the police station that he works closely with. It's the only other cop that matters in this movie.
Yeah. It's not really clear, like, because at first I was like, oh, is she like his underling, you know, whatever, because he's obviously a police detective.
Yeah.
And she's just in like normal cop clothes, right? Yeah. Outfit, right? But then her desk also says detective on the placard. So it's like, okay, I guess.
And he's wearing a suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, and she's wearing, like a uniform.
Yeah. So
it's like,
apparently she's also a detective. So.
Okay. So he hands it off to her. He's like, I got to go to Georgia. There was a lead. There was an old guy who he had overheard David and Eddie talking at the 5 bar.
Yeah.
About the drugs and all this sort of stuff. So he's like, I got to get there. I know where they're at. I'm going to go find the drugs. So mom comes home from work. She's riding her bicycle home from the hospital or wherever she works, which looks like a city, and they live way out in the country, but I guess she's riding her bike home from work. I'm like, that's a long ass ride, it looks like. And she gets home. She's like, oh, okay, I'm going to take a nap. You know, it was like overnight work and all this sort of stuff. She gets a phone call that Dee Dee has skipped school. She goes outside and finds one of their backpacks outside. And I'm like, I thought they both had their backpack, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why they left one of them, but whatever.
Yeah, she finds a backpack and it has a map to the secret falls at the national park.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, that's where she went. Brr, bar, you know. So now we're at another scene where we see a park ranger. She's getting herself all dolled up for somebody. The park ranger, which I don't think we ever get her name. In fact, the other guy even calls. Oh, her name's Ranger Liz. She's played by Margot Martindale. Which, I mean, if you've seen. I mean, as soon as you see her, you're like, oh, yeah. I've seen her.
Yeah.
But would you be able to name anything that she's actually been in?
I would not, but I have
she's
seen
always
her.
She's always a supporting character.
Yeah. And like, she's really good, too. In everything she's ever been in, she's a really great like character actress.
Okay. She was with Kerry Russell in The Americans.
Too. Okay, I've never seen that. I've heard that's a really good show, but
man, I don't even know. I mean, she's been in so much stuff.
Yeah.
Going down her IMDb list is just like, but to pick something where I'd be like, oh, you would know her from this. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, go look her up on IMDb. You'll see her face and be like, oh, I've seen her. That's her.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So anyway, now we see the park ranger Liz. She's getting herself dolled up. She's putting on like lipstick and perfume and all this sort of stuff because somebody's coming by, and we don't know who it is as of yet. But and then some kid ends up coming in instead, and she's like, "Well, hello," type thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, it's just you," And he wants to get into the park. And she's like, you better not be causing me any trouble or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's like, something smells good. And she's like, oh, it's French or what, it's like whatever fancy type perfume. And so anyway, and then we see the person show up she's been waiting for. It's the wildlife inspector.
Oh yeah.
Who's he shows up and he's very dressed down, very casual. He's played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson, of course, from Modern Family. He was in Cocaine Bear, High School, the musical series, Gay Pride and Prejudice, Island Queen, Nightcap. Yeah. So, but you guys would know him from Modern Family for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, he shows up and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, he's here," And so then they're gonna go inspect all this sort of stuff. Dee Dee and Henry, they're taking a break. They're kind of from hiking. Getting up to the falls. They end up stumbling across a brick of the cocaine.
Yeah.
Henry's like, what is it? And she's like, it's drugs. I think it's cocaine. And he's like, oh, I didn't recognize it like that. Because it's normally more powdery whenever I see it. And she's like, how often do you see cocaine? He's like, I do it all the time. And she's like, prove it. Do some. And then we see 2 kids eating cocaine.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people had a big issue with this part about kids doing drugs in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And they said it played a big part into the film. It was very integral to it.
People said
that? Yeah, they did. And wow. And I'm like...
That's funny because you would think that... Because I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, oh man, these kids are going to be tripping out now. We're going to be getting some interesting scenes with them. And like, it kind of...
There's nothing.
Yeah, it kind of gets mentioned later, but...
Yeah, it was like, no effect on the kids.
No, not really.
Except Henry's just hungry later, and I'm like, I don't think cocaine does that.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking too. I'm like,
drug.
I don't know,
the wrong drug.
I haven't mentioned it yet, and I actually could wait to mention it, I guess. But one of the things, like I was talking about before, like for me, this was very obvious in Elizabeth Banks film, is that we haven't noted, but there is a lot of jumping from scene to scene here.
Oh, it's very jumpy.
And I know that that's kind of a weird thing to say after just watching The Outwaters, which was like ridiculous in how much it jumped.
Oh, yeah.
But it happens a lot in this film, and we get like sometimes we get like a minute with a set of characters.
With one character, yeah.
And the other thing too is that we've been talking about the film for half an hour now, and how many times have we mentioned the cocaine bear?
Yeah, no. Well, once.
Yeah.
But we've been talking for a half an hour, and I've gone tons of scenes. I'm like, next we're seeing, then we're seeing, now we're seeing, it does.
It's very jarring because I don't, and this runs throughout the rest of the film. Spoilers, but. Where we jump from scene to scene to scene. We jump from character to character so much. Like, nobody is on screen long enough to have any, like, sort of character development.
It is true.
You know, it's like, true. Wow, okay.
So what, since you brought it up, what about that makes you say it's very Elizabeth Banks?
Just because stuff I've seen her do before seemed to be similar.
Because I mean, the only thing that I know, and I'm trying to think of films that she's directed, would be Pitch Perfect. Beyond that,
did she direct that one?
Yeah, she directed. I think she directed all those.
I guess that one was a little better. She did the newer Charlie's Angels. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but
I did not.
To me, it was the same way.
See, it surprises me that you even watched that.
Yeah, well, I heard it was terrible, and so I kind of like hate watched.
Okay. And see, what's funny is like I'm a closet Kristen Stewart fan.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like,
well, I like Elizabeth Banks. I like Elizabeth Banks. I think she's funny. You know, she's not bad at this. There's a lot of jumping around and not really a lot. See, it's hard because she didn't write this film, right?
Yeah.
But she did direct it, and there's some things, coming up later I'll get into, but I don't know, man.
Okay, so she directed one segment of movie 43. She did Pitch Perfect 2.
Okay.
Charlie's Angels and Cocaine Bear. See, I kind of want to.
See, okay, so now that makes sense.
Watch
because I knew she was in Pitch Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought the first one, was decent for what it was. The second one I thought was stupid, and I never watched. I don't know, 3, 4. I don't even know how many there are.
I think there's only 3.
Okay. But
I watched exactly 0 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you would think that would be up my alley, but
yeah. You'd probably like the first one. It's
probably
stupid, but I mean, a lot of movies are. So
it's got Anna Kendrick in it.
Yeah,
I like Anna Kendrick.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, It's just this is an interestingly directed film. Let's put it that way, I guess.
It is. It is. I mean, there is a lot of jumping around, and to me, that I think is part of where I equated it with one of those. I mean, not just the storyline and not just all that sort of stuff, but I think the jumping around also is what made me equate it to one of those older family style comedy movies. Just how quick the pace is, as far as, I mean, because this is not a long movie.
No. I guess
so. I mean, it's like bam, 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 bam. You're going through all these little things very, very quickly to get you to this point. And I think that's kind of what reminded me of it.
You know, like the kind of film you're referencing, though, when you said that, I was like, but at least in those films, you got to stick with a character long enough to kind of get to know them. I don't feel like, at least up to this point, like I don't really know anything about the characters still.
Yeah.
Or they're very one-dimensional. The characters are very one-dimensional.
The only character that we really get anything deep on is Eddie.
Yes.
We kind of see that he has this past of his dad is a drug dealer that he doesn't want anything to do with anymore. He just lost his wife. He has a kid. And he's dealing with all these issues that are all kind of compiling on him all at the same time. And he still cares about his friend, David, and all this. He's the only character that gets any sort of development throughout this whole movie.
Well, I guess we'll get to that, but...
All right, so where were we?
The kids just found a brick of cocaine. And,
so they eat it.
Tasty.
They eat some drugs.
Yeah, because she was like, "How are you supposed to do it?"
Yeah, and
he's like, "Eat it."
Yeah. So she just takes a big mouthful of coke, and she's like, "Oh, that's disgusting." And she's like, your turn." And then he does it. He's like, "Ah." Then we see that they found more, but you can see that some sort of animal had gotten into them. And then behind them, we see that the bear comes along and steals some of their food that they've been munching on. And then it comes up behind them and they turn around. They're like, "Oh, bear." And then it sneezes coke on them.
Yeah. Big cloud of white powder all over them.
And so I'm like, oh, now they're taking it correctly.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can, I've seen it ingested, but generally it's through the nose.
I've heard.
Supposedly. So then they run. David calls Sid while they're on their way. Sid informs David that the cops have been tipped off. Somehow they knew that it was in. And I was like, somehow Sid knows that they were tipped off and that the drugs are up there. So like that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
But he's like, Eddie and I are on the way to the park. We're getting close. So now Mom shows up to the ranger station and the inspector's like, "Well, we're headed up that way to the fall. We could show you where they're at." And Liz, the ranger, she's like, no. We don't want her to get in the way of your inspection, and all this and get distracted because she wants her alone time with Mr. Inspector, who I really don't think he's interested in her kind, if you get what I mean. So now they get to the park. David is like, "I gotta take a piss." He goes in to the restrooms there. While he's in there, excuse me. Jeez, a bear just blew some coke in my face.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it just like got right in there.
It's the whiplash from all the scene back and forth that goes on.
It's all
right
the
here.
scenes. It's oh wow! It's like
yeah. Well, it's funny because like you were just talking about the Ranger and Mom coming in, and then you're like, and then David goes into the It's like, oh yeah, because it cuts back to them real quick, and I guess
so fast.
So they pull in. Like, David and Eddie pull into the ranger station, right?
They pull up to it.
Yeah, but then they go into the
right next to it.
Yeah. David goes into the restroom. And then we
cut the restroom.
And then we cut back to Team Ranger.
That's right. But I didn't make note of it because I'm just like, what's the point?
Yeah. So
because they're just walking.
Here's the point. Here's the entire point of this scene cutting back to Team Ranger. Right.
Okay.
It's so that Ranger Liz, is that what you said her name is?
Yeah.
It's basically so that Ranger Liz can say, she's mouthing off about the kids that Mom is looking for. It's just, we've had some punks in this area, that's been confronting or like attacking hikers, basically.
Yeah, attacking hikers and
seriously, that is the only reason we cut back, so that then
with a knife.
Yeah, so that then we can immediately cut back to David.
David, who, while he's at the urinal, 3 punks, as I call them on this.
Yeah, me too.
I just call them the punks. They come in behind him.
One of whom, by the way, is that kid that came in to confront
earlier.
To talk to Ranger Liz.
Yeah, to get into the park. And she's like, you better not cause me any trouble. And he's going to start causing trouble. So he comes in and they're like, yeah, you better, give us all your money and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, they all get their asses kicked by David. So then him and Eddie comes in. He's like, what happened? Did you kill him? Oh, man. He's like, I might have killed the one, but he didn't kill any of them. But they take one of the punks and find out that they had found some of the drugs and they hid it.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one who is conscious at that time. So they're like, and it's not the kid from that we see earlier at the park, which you would think he would be the one that we would continue on with. Yeah. But it's not. They take one of the other punks. And he's like, well, you're going to show us where the drugs are. So now we see Mom and Ranger. They find litter from where the kids were because they find like their little food bags and stuff like that. And then we hear Henry calling from somewhere.
Yeah.
Down to Mrs. something, or I forgot what her last name was. We get her last name, but anyway.
Oh, did we? I didn't even hear it.
Yeah. But he's up in a tree. He had to get away from the bear. He's like, no, just run. He's like, it's not just any bear, run. And then she's like, where's Dee Dee? And she's like, the monster took Dee Dee. And they're like, what are you talking about? Bears are, gentle creature and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, like, the bear just grabs the inspector, like, drags him through the bushes. And you're like, oh, crap. And then it grabs the ranger. And the ranger's got her gun out. And she's just shooting, like, everywhere. Like, and then, like, almost hitting people and all this sort of stuff. She then ends up getting jumped by the bear from behind, like scratch it, like cuts her leg, like put a big gash in her leg, and then it takes off somewhere, and then she's like, I'm gonna go get help, and she just kind of limps away, and they're like, don't leave, and she's like, I gotta go get help. Then the bear starts climbing up the tree that Henry's in.
Well, before that,
I missed something.
Yeah, before the ranger takes off, Peter is like crawling through the woods, crawling to get away.
Peter?
Peter is the other guy with them.
The inspector?
The inspector, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. I think we actually got his name.
Did we? Holy crap.
Either that or I just inserted a random name.
Oh, it is Peter.
Okay.
It is Peter. According to IMDb, it's Peter.
Yeah. We actually got his name at some point.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but he's crawling away from the bear, and he comes across the stash, like a bunch of bricks of cocaine, and some of them are busted open, and so he ends up just absolutely covered.
Oh yeah,
in cocaine.
Does like this face plant into it.
Yeah,
because because he's trying to scramble away, and then like trips over a horror movie on his hands and falls into it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So the bear then starts climbing up the tree that Henry's in.
Yeah.
And they're like, climb higher, climb higher. He's like, I can't. The bear is just about ready to get him. And then and the other ranger the inspector has climbed up another tree.
Yeah.
And he's like, why did you climb up the tree? And to Henry, and he's like, because bears don't climb up trees. And he's like, yes, they do. And then Henry's like, then why did you climb one? Yeah. He's like, I don't know. And so anyway, so it climbs up Henry's tree. It's about ready to get him, but then it smells the coke off of the inspector.
Yeah.
It like hightails it back down the tree, goes up the inspector's tree, and just starts ripping him apart.
And there's the thing too, it's slowly like trying to climb its way and kind of struggling to climb its way up the tree Henry's at. As soon as it smells the coke, it like it slides down, and then it basically like jumps and just like absolutely tears it up that tree.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay.
Starts like grabbing at his leg, pulling at it. It ends up pulling his leg off, which makes the inspector fall and like hit the ground.
Yeah.
And then his leg hits the ground. And it's just like, we just see a lot of just legs in this film. Yeah. I think we see 3 legs. Just a leg. They're like, we got this artificial leg. We got to do something with it. And they just used it several times. We paid the money for it. We're going to use it. I have no idea where I'm at in my notes whatsoever.
Well, Henry climbs down, right?
Yeah, she's like, get down. Yeah, Henry climbs down. And then Mom and Henry, they're like, she's like, which way did it take Dee Dee? And he's like, it went that way. So they start going that way.
Yeah, because, and I don't know if we mentioned this, but Henry says that, oh yeah, you did mention her, that the monster took her or something.
Yeah.
So the bear dragged Dee Dee off somewhere instead of mauling her immediately like it did all the other humans that it has mauled.
Oh, it's because she's artistic. So the ranger, she made it back to the station. She's limped her way back there. And the 2 punks that were beat up, that had been knocked out, are in there.
Yeah.
He's like, we got to call an ambulance. And they're all beat up. And they're like, we already did. And then she realizes that they've stolen like all the money from the ranger station, that they're up to no good.
Yeah.
And she pulls the gun out on them. And she's like, I want you out of here, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. And all of a sudden they hear this noise at the door.
Yeah.
She's like, get the door.
They're like, did he get you too?
Oh, that's
she's
right.
Like, yeah. So there's this like miscommunication. They think that she's been attacked by the crazy guy, by David. Yeah.
And
she thinks they've been attacked by the bear.
By the bear. So she's like, get the door. And he's like, oh man. And so he opens up the door finally. And he's looking and he's thinking it's going to be David because she's going to shoot whoever's outside the door.
Yeah.
He's thinking she's just going to shoot David. And he opens up the door and he's like, a bear? Yeah. And then, oh man, I had it. Where is it at? Open the door. Oh yeah, it's a bear. And then she shoots.
She closes her eyes and shoots.
Yeah. Closes her eyes and shoots. And blows off half of the punk's head.
Yeah.
Like just.
Yeah. And it like splashes right in the bear's face. Yeah.
Yeah. It just gets all over and the bear's like.
Yeah.
Like chunks are flying off of him. And then the bear just kind of runs away. Yeah. And the other kid's like, oh my God, what did you do? She's like, it's okay. I'm sorry. It's okay though. Type thing. It's like it's the 80s. So anyway, the bear, they're trying to figure out where it went. They've got themselves now locked inside the building and all this. And then they start hearing noises up on the roof. And they're like, it's up on the
roof. Yeah.
And she starts seeing like ash coming down from the chimney. She's like, oh, I got it. Yeah. And she's going to shoot it when it comes down the chimney. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And the punk kid that was in the station earlier, the very first punk kid that we saw, he backs up to the front door of the building, and the bear just bashes a hand through the glass and like rips the kid's face off, basically through the like just through the window. So the detective arrives. That's that scene. Mom and Henry find a paint trail.
Seriously. The Detective Bob, by the way.
Oh, is that his name?
Yeah.
I never got his name either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
it's Bob. Here's crazy. Detective Bob is played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr.
Yeah.
Who is in Defy Blood, Cedar Rapids, Black Klansman, Pete's Dragon. He was. I've
seen him in. There's another one I've seen him in a lot of stuff too.
I know there was one show that I remember seeing him in, and it's like he's just it's the show that if I said he was from this, people would be like, oh yeah, I know who he is. But I can't remember what it is, like off the top. Anyway, you were saying something about him.
Well, yeah, I was going to say before. So the bear, which was on the roof and has teleported, because we've established this bear can teleport, right? So,
I guess.
Right. So right after.
Oh yeah, he was from The Wire. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So right after that, we don't get Bob yet. We get a very short scene back at Team Drugs, where they're just talking while hiking. They're still hiking to where Punk said they stashed the drugs, right?
Yeah.
And they're just having some stupid, like they're playing 20 questions or something.
Yeah.
That's that entire scene.
Yeah. There's so many scenes that I left out over the sheer fact of me going, and then we jump over here.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're talking about something totally inconsequential.
But
then we jump over here.
But that's what I mean. So much of that movie is like this,
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's them trying to get all of them trying to find the same thing, but there's so much in yes. What did I do? I totally ripped up my mic. But there's so it would be normal conversation.
Yeah.
That we would have if we were doing this. Like if you and I were going to look for drugs, if we were going into the woods to look for these drugs, it's not like the whole time we'd be like, where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? Right. We would be talking about something. So I get that that's normal. I really messed up my mic. I get that we would be talking about something normal, but it's just like, it's so hard to talk about it on something like this and just go, well, then some shiz happened here.
Yeah.
But not really.
Yeah. And, but there are reasons, there is a reason coming up why I brought that up. And
okay.
So we see them, they're in the middle, right? And they're just walking in conversation. Then we get Bob pulling up to the ranger station. And like you said, that's basically just him pulling up to it. He gets out, you see a bloody hand smack the window from inside, but he doesn't notice it.
No.
He's just kind of looking around like, oh, where is everyone? And then
the window's busted out of the front door.
Yeah, but he doesn't
notice it.
He doesn't approach, so he doesn't notice, right? Yeah.
Throws away his big gulp cup.
Yeah, but then you're right. Then it cuts away. And I have an issue with this scene, too, that we will also
hikes
get
up his
to.
Pants. He's just like, okay, well.
Yeah.
Ready for my hike, type thing.
Yeah.
So, Mom and Henry find that Dee Dee has left them a paint trail, possibly.
Yeah.
Because we see red paint all. I did it again.
Dude.
Yeah, I just gotta sit back from my mic. I'm like really up on it today. I'm like right up all up in it. Anyway, so yeah, so there's like this rock and there's red paint on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my god, it's blood." And then the mom's like touching it, and then like, does she taste it? I don't remember.
No, she just
touching it.
Yeah, and did she even touch it? I didn't even know.
No, yeah, she touches it, and she's like, "Oh, it's just paint."
Yeah,
it's because it was like sticky or something like that. And he's like, "How do you know it's just paint?" She's like, "I'm a nurse," and I'm like, "Blood sticky."
And is this? Oh no, I guess we do already know she's a nurse, isn't?
Yes,
okay,
yeah. But she's like, "I'm a nurse,"
yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, okay." But I guess they had to reiterate that.
Yeah.
But we do find out that Dee Dee has left at least some paint.
Yeah.
And then the mom's like, she left, clever girl, she left us a paint trail. And I'm like, no, she left you. There is some paint. We have not established it's a trail yet.
Well, oh, do we? Because I thought then that she looks and like there's another thing of paint.
Oh, there is in there. Yeah, there was more.
Like that's across the field or whatever.
She sees more paint. They could see it. That's right. Yeah, it shows a couple more spots. So now ambulance shows up. Yeah, because remember the punks had called the ambulance in. They're trying to get into the door of the ranger station. They're trying to push it open. They can't get it open because
and at this point I'm like, wait a minute, where's Detective Bob?
Yeah, well, he's already gone. He's already walked off.
But why? Why didn't Detective Bob go to the
ranger station and be like, "Hey, look, I'm a cop. I'm here to we think that there's drugs.
Yeah.
Could I get some help in trying to find these things?"
At which point he should have noticed the busted out window and but everything that the paramedics are about to find.
He also probably should have paid for entrance, or at least talked to them or told them, "Hey, look, I'm just going in here," and they'd be like, "Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay." And all that, flash a badge, whatever.
I don't expect them to show every single thing that a character did, but
at least show the ones that make sense.
But I would expect a detective to pull up to it's a visitor center, but it's the ranger station, right?
Yeah,
I would expect him to go and try to talk to the ranger that he knows should be there. So yeah, but whatever.
No, I totally agree. And I was thinking the same thing. Oh, he's going to go up to it. Yeah. But he doesn't. It's like, that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. Much like, why can't we see anything in any of the Outwaters? But that, it's the thing that's like, the things that make sense should make sense. But, they're doing it so the movie can have a story.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, we'll just leave those parts out.
Yeah.
It's like the Bible. Anyway.
I know, I interrupted you again. You were at the part where they're trying to get into the station.
So they're trying to get in, they're pushing on the door, but that body of the half blown off head, he's like laying in front of the door, and so they're like pushing. Finally they get it open, they see the kid, and they're like, "I thought we were just here because of a concussion." Yeah, and then they find the ranger. She's there. She's like seriously wounded. She's been mauled and all this sort of stuff. And then one of the EMT guys, so it's a guy and a lady. They show up. The two EMTs. The guy sees blood coming out from a door in one of the back rooms. So like he opens it up, and like a bucket falls, and then you see like the other punk's head roll out of it.
Yeah, it was like
the punk's body.
And it was set up like one of those classic like prank doors where the door's partially open and the bucket's sitting on top.
Yeah, it's yeah. This is why I'm saying this is like one of those kids movies. Yeah. It's just gory. So so we see the bear then coming out of the shadows towards the EMT. And he's like, oh no. And he's shutting the door. And the park ranger's like, bear, you know, and all, and she's like holding the gun and all this sort of stuff. And then the guy's like, we should go. And then the bear like breaks down the door on top of him. I think his name's like Todd.
I think it's Tom.
And Tom. Okay. Tom. So, I don't know. I have it and Beth is the other one.
Yeah.
And he's like, just get her to the ambulance and go, you know, as he's underneath the door. He's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself.
Yeah.
And he's not wearing a uniform either, which is weird.
I thought they were both wearing like paramedic.
She's wearing the paramedic gear. He's just wearing like an open t-shirt with shorts.
Oh, is he? I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Wow. Or something. It's like very casual also. And I'm like, why are all these guys not wearing uniforms?
Yeah.
When they're doing like, okay, we got the park inspector.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a uniform. We've got the cop or the detective. The female one's wearing a uniform, but the guy's not.
Yeah.
We've got the EMT. The female one's wearing a uniform, but the guy's not. And I'm like, what is going on with this? See, if anything, that would make it an Elizabeth Banks film.
Yeah.
She's like, we're doing the work. So the bear's like on top of him on the door, trying to get at him. Beth gets the ranger, or the other EMT gets the ranger to the ambulance. Then Tom takes this duffel. He reaches his medical bag or whatever. That's like a duffel bag, but it's also red like all the other duffel bags have been. They have all the coke in it. And he hits the bear with the bag, and he takes it, and it like goes across the room, and the bear thinks it's got coke in it, and it jumps off of that and goes for the duffel bag.
Yeah.
And it's trying to get into it. So he ends up getting up, and he runs off, and he's yelling, go, go, go to the ambulance. And he's running after it as they're going, and they're going too fast. And he's like, not that fast.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, and they're running across the field.
And the reason he's able to do this is because Beth put her patient in the back of the ambulance and then left the doors open, left those back doors open. Yeah,
the doors are wide open so that the ranger can see out, and she's on a stretcher with wheels.
Yeah.
And they're running so he can get in, and so he's chasing after him. The bear is now running after him. They're bouncing across a field and all this sort of stuff. She's not coming out of the thing with on the wheels. And finally, Tom grabs a hold of the back of the ambulance, gets in. The bear's trying to grab it. She's shooting over his shoulder. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then the bear's back, and he's like, keep shooting. And then finally the bear's just like, and he takes this long jump as though the laws of gravity and nature and forces, you know, like, you know, if if motion is happening, that bear should not be able to catch it, but somehow it does.
Yeah.
And gets into the back of it. And instead of grabbing Tom, it grabs the ranger and throws her out the back. And she lands on her face on the concrete or on the asphalt with the stretcher on top of her, and she's just sliding.
Yeah.
And then it grabs Tom and kills him. And then the other EMT's like freaking out, and it's coming up. It's going to get her. And then she slams into a tree and goes through the windshield.
Yep.
All dead. Everybody's dead. And then the bear's just like, walks off. Next we see Punk and Eddie, or like one of the punks and Eddie start bonding.
Yeah.
And then the detective somehow arrives at the gazebo where the punks hid the drugs before anybody else does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fat detective wearing slacks and tucked in shirt, makes it there before the guys who went there a half an hour or more before him.
Seriously.
And they're all like walking through like across creeks and all this sort. He's just like, I'm here.
And by the way, they know where they're going because Punk is leading them to where they stashed the drugs. Detective Bob is just like randomly walking.
Yeah, he's just randomly walking.
He didn't go into the visitor center to talk to the ranger, but he did just start randomly walking and got to the gazebo first.
Yeah, he got to the gazebo first, and he sits down because he's, I'm tired. And he looks up, and he just sees this duffel bag stashed at the top of this gazebo inside. So he climbs up somehow and gets to the bag. And then now the other guys are showing up. The Punk and David and Eddie, they show up. And they're like, where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? And so the Punk gets underneath the gazebo and looks up and doesn't see them. And he's like, don't be mad, but they're gone. And they're like, what do you mean they're gone? He's like, they're just gone. And they're like, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. No, don't shoot him. Don't shoot him. And the detective's like, freeze. I got you, dirtbags, type of thing. And it's like, and they're like, oh. And then he's like, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to arrest all of you. And then he can't get down.
Yeah, because he's on top of the gazebo. Right?
Yeah, he's on top of the gazebo. And they're like, how'd you get up there? And he's like, I jumped out of that tree.
Yeah. He climbed to the tree and jumped over here to the top of the gazebo.
And now he's stuck. He can't get back off. And so he's stuck up there, and him and David have a shootout. They're shooting at each other, and detective ends up shooting off some of David's fingers.
Yeah.
All this sort of stuff. So there's this big back and forth, like, drop the gun. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to shoot you. No, I'm not. And so that was kind of like, and that takes up like 4 scenes, but it's like back and forth between other stuff in this that all just doesn't have anything to do with anything.
And it's funny, it happens in this scene too, but in one of the previous scenes when when Team Drugs they're hiking toward it, there's this part where there's like these jump cuts, but it's like them walking to another angle of them walking and then back to the first angle of them walking. It's clearly that they were filmed at different points because they're like all the characters are actually in different places.
Yeah.
But
I didn't notice that. I got to check that out.
Yeah, and then and that's how this scene is too. It's just like a bunch of jump cuts, random cuts, but it's all still the same scene. It's really
like weird. Somebody's like, do you remember where you were standing on that last scene? No. Okay. Well, we'll just shoot it anyway.
Yeah.
Or just editing mess. Anyway, so detectives up. Mom and Henry are on Dee Dee's trail at some point.
Yeah.
So, and then we see somebody pull up to the ranger station, they pull out a rifle out of their trunk and then just walk off. Yeah. We don't see their face. We don't know who it is.
Yeah, you basically just get shots of like some boots.
Yeah. So then the detective was like, you're all going to jail. I'm going to take you in and all this sort of thing. And then the bear shows up. And he's told everybody to get on the ground. So Eddie and the Punk are laying on the ground. They're face down.
Yeah.
And
David has basically, at this point, he has grabbed his gun and is like hiding under the gazebo now, out of range out of sight of Bob.
Yeah, because the detective was like, you better come out. I can't see you. And so the bear now comes up, and then David's like, just play dead. Just play dead. Just stay still. Stay still. And so David's like playing like cat and mouse with the bear around this like partition, so he can't see him, but it's like sniffing because it smells coke because David's got a big brick in his back pocket. Okay, so it's like looking around. So finally, it just goes up to Eddie, and it's like sniffing around over by him, and then kind of gets all four paws all the way over Eddie, and then just falls down and like passes out of sleep on Eddie.
And
all the kids are going, hee, that's funny. The bear fell asleep on him, Mommy. Look, the bear fell asleep.
And it's important to note here that the bear approaches him, right? And it's like, so its face is right up there, like at his face, and it's sniffing, and then it collapses.
Head and head. Okay.
I'm assuming you know why that's important.
I know why it's important. Okay. I didn't make note of it, but I'll talk about it now.
Okay.
So Mom and Henry find Olaf alone in the woods.
Yeah,
he's crying. He's holding, I guess, he's like wrapped up in a blanket and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, oh, they took my... He was talking about the bear and how it took Elsa from him and all this sort of stuff. And they're like, we're looking for my daughter. Have you seen her? A little girl about 12. He's like, yes, I've seen her. And it's like, why? If you've seen this girl, why weren't... Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll show you where she was. And it's like, whatever. So anyway, someone's like, check the bear, see if it's dead. Okay. So it's still laying on Eddie. David's walking up. He's listening for a heartbeat. He's like listening to it, and it's like, no, I think he's alive. And then Eddie's like, it's a she. It's like, what? He's like, it's a she. It's not a he. How do you know it's a she and not a he? It's like, because its vagina is on my head. And I'm like, that thing has a vagina on its neck?
I know.
A neck-gina? And I'm like, if that thing, that would be like way down by like your knees.
Because again, it has its face was sniffing his head, and then it's like long ways, and it collapses onto him.
So I'm like, joke did not make any sense.
It did not.
It's just like, people were just like, it'd be funny if we told him that a vagina was on his head.
Yeah. Does it matter how the bear's laying? Nah.
And then the teenagers will love it.
It's just
They'll love it.
What?
So anyway, he's listening.
And if you're wondering, if you haven't watched this movie and you're wondering how we're getting this, it's because Eddie is talking from underneath this massive bear that has collapsed onto him, and he has not suffocated yet.
He's not suffocated.
He was not crushed. He was not crushed. He has not suffocated.
No. Because bears are light and fluffy.
Yeah. He can talk quite clearly through it. So
yeah. So David's listening for the heartbeat, and all of a sudden the bear's eyes come open, and it smells the coke from
because the brick of cocaine falls out of David's
falls
back
out of
pocket.
his pocket.
Yeah.
And the bear's like, and gets up and just eats the whole brick. And then it starts going after Eddie again, and like starts like dancing with him or like holding on to him and all that sort of stuff. And the detective who has the bag of the coke up on the top, he starts distracting it by like bashing the bricks together and like taking it and like making it, as the punk call it, oh, it's snowing cocaine.
It's cocaine Christmas.
Yeah, it's cocaine Christmas, and the bears.
At which
like
point you actually hear some
in
jingling bells in the background, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. The bears like dancing around in it, like like this from and then he takes one and like throws it and all this sort of stuff. So then David and the detective once again have a standoff for the bag.
Bob tells them to run. He distracts the bear and tells them, just run.
Yeah, just run. Go, get out of here. So you guys can be safe. And then David's like, I can't leave without the bag.
Yeah.
I can't leave without the bag. And he's pointing the gun at him. And the cop's like, come on, seriously, just get out of here. And all of a sudden, the cop gets shot. Detective gets shot.
Right in the stomach.
And like falls. Yep. Yeah. And he's like, oh, and then you're like, what happened? And we hear that Eddie's like, we gotta go, come on. So finally they start going. We find out Sid was the guy with the rifle, and he sniped the detective off the top of the thing.
Yeah.
And Sid's like, look, if I don't get that bag of Coke, if I don't get all this Coke back, all this Coke, there are people coming back after us. Okay. And not just me, my whole family.
And he says very distinctly, we have to get every penny's worth.
Yeah, every penny's worth. So they're not getting every penny's worth.
No
way. So they start telling him about the bear and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, what? What do you mean you gave the So Sid's like, we got to get it back or else they're coming after me and my whole family. That includes you, Eddie, and your son.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got to go back and get it. So they're like, we got to get the bag. And the detective's like, I gave the rest of the Coke to the bear. And they're like, what? And then they're like, oh, I'm going to shoot you. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, you hear like, yeah, well, not if I have something to say about her or something like that. And then it's like the partner detective. And he's like, yeah. I knew you'd have my back, girl, type thing. And then she comes walking out and then she points the gun at the detective. And then she's like, wait, what's going on? And then we find out she's a dirty cop. She's been working for Sid. That's how Sid found out where the drugs, how the information and all that.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, where's my dog? And she's like, it's in the car. And he's like, then Sid's like, you left a dog in the car. And then Eddie's like, you left my son at home.
Yeah.
By himself. And he's like, what else was I supposed to do? So Mom, Henry, and Olaf make it to one of those offs. They make it to a bear cave or a cave. And Olaf's like, this is as far as I go. I'm not going any farther. And they're like, fine, we'll go in. And so they go, Mom and Henry go in. Sid and lackeys are on the trail. They're passing like other bags of Coke that are like hanging in trees.
Yeah.
That we can see, but they're just like walking past. They're like, I don't even know where they're going. Do they even know where where were they going?
I don't. Because Detective Bob told them what direction the bear ran off in. And so they're going the direction.
They're going after that one bag.
Yeah. Basically, I guess. Sense. I don't know.
So, they're going.
They don't see the other, like you see a bag that's hanging from a tree, but I don't think they see it.
No, they don't see it.
Yeah.
No, they don't see it at all. But it's just like, they're not even worried about any of the other bags. They're just worried about this one bag that the bear took.
Yeah.
So they're going after and the detective dies. Okay. Did I already say that? Detective died.
I don't know.
Anyway, we see that. They pass the other bag. Okay. So Mom and Henry get into the cave. And then we see two bear cubs in the cave in another duffel bag, coked out of their minds. Yeah. They're like playing around. They're like, Wah!
Literally two bear cubs crawl out of this duffel bag.
Yeah.
This is apparently a gigantic duffel bag.
Yeah. No. And it's like, wow. It's like the TARDIS of duffel bags. Yeah. Then they find Dee Dee. Dee Dee's like, I'm right here. I'm okay. It's like the bear cubs have left her alone. Mama Bear's left her alone. She's just hiding out in this cave and she hurt her ankle or something. And then we hear Olaf screaming outside. Way off in the distance. And they're like, we gotta get out of here. So anyway, they're like, it's the cocaine bear. We got to go deeper into the cave. There might be another way out.
Yeah.
So they go deeper into the cave. Sid and his crew get to the cave. All the team drugs or whatever you want to call them. They get there to the cave, and David's just like, "Look, Sid, let's just cut our losses and go." And they're like, "We've already found that one hiker, which was Olaf," and they're like, "You saw what the bear did to him."
Yeah.
And they find like one of the bags of coke, and he's like, "Let's just go. Let's just go." And he's like, "Look, there's more out here. We aren't leaving till we find all of them."
See, but when this happens, though, so I did not catch that this was supposed to be Olaf, because they say
that they found the hiker.
Yeah,
that was all. He was screaming outside the cave like he was getting attacked.
Right. So we hear screaming. I didn't think it was clear who it was that was screaming, though, because you just hear screaming, right? And then
we hear his voice, and he's like, "Oh God, no!"
Oh, did you? I didn't hear that. All I heard was screaming.
Yeah.
And then we get this weird thing because David is like, "We saw what happened to that hiker." Then you get this weird, like 10-second flashback or cutaway. Yeah. And it's like
of something that happened maybe 5 minutes before.
Yeah, and it's like Reba tripping over, which is the dirty cop. Reba tripping over a body, and you come down, and it's like this body with this face ripped off, right?
Yeah, it's been mauled completely.
So this is Olaf. Apparently, this is a cutaway to a scene that was fully filmed. They fully filmed Olaf's death scene. And then Banks decided to cut it out of the film because at this point it was this like family moment, and it was this heartwarming.
I'm telling you, this movie was too much like a family kids film with a lot of blood.
Yeah, but there is a whole scene in there of Olaf, of you actually seeing Olaf getting killed, but that they just cut out of the movie. And so that's why you get this weird, like, cut back to the flashback. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
So he finally he puts the cop at gunpoint. She's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not doing it anymore. He points a gun at the cop, and then David stands in the way. He's like, no, you ain't gonna shoot her, type thing. So she just walks off. And he's like, fine, but the rest of you are coming with. We're gonna find the rest of these. So the mom and the kids, they've now gone like out to the backside of like the waterfall that they were going to paint all over. They're like behind it and like on this ledge, and the cub bears are like, we're going to lead you out. We're going to show you where. So like the cubs have gone out there with them and all this. And so Sid and the crew and everything, they hear him. They're like, "Oh no, there's people coming," and they come out. And then he's like, "What do we have here?" And then they find the mom and the kids. And then there's like another bag that's like hanging on a branch out into the falls or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We got to get that one. We have to get that bag." And so they're like, "No, let's just go. It's too dangerous." And then the cubs like start attacking Sid because they're smelling the coke in the bag that he has. And they start attacking at him. And then Eddie and David are like, just screw him. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And then, because we hear Mama Bear coming, and she shows up over the top of the waterfall. She's like, "Rah!" And then Mom and the kids are like, or Mom says to the kids, we got to jump. And they jump off into the waterfall. And so do Eddie and David, but not before David gets shot by Sid.
Yeah.
In the shoulder. But I think Sid was trying to shoot at it was his neck?
Yeah.
He was trying to shoot at the bear, I think, but ends up hitting David. And then he shoots the bear, and Mama Bear like falls, and she's and hits a ledge like down lower. Okay, so Sid goes for the last bag. He's still trying to get at it, and one of the bricks falls out of the bag he had, or out of that bag, or whatever, and tears open and hits a rock, tears open, and powders all over Mama Bear, and she gets like coke rage.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and she goes up that waterfall and gets Sid, rips him to rips his intestine, like stomach open, all this. And the cubs are like pulling his intestines out, and they start all eating him together. And then now we're down at the bottom of the waterfall. David's dying. He's like, man, I got the last question, type thing. And then he figures out the 20 questions thing, and it was about Joan and all this and blah, blah, blah. And he's dying, and he's like, please help us. We need help. Eddie's yelling, and Mom comes to swim over, and Henry or Dee Dee's like, it's okay. She's a nurse.
Yeah.
And then we find out Mom and the kids make it. The dirty cop makes it and gives the detective's dog to Eddie. She's like, it's not. She's like, here, you take, because basically she couldn't explain why she was up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
She gives the dog to Eddie for some reason. David has made it too. He's living, and he's like, this dog ain't coked up, is it? And then Mom and the kids, they walk past the ambulance wreck, and she's like, oh, don't look. And he's like, oh, I kind of want to. And then cops are finally showing up to the park for some reason.
Yeah.
Like nobody's called them, but cops are showing up. And then we see on the screen, none of the bags were ever recovered.
Yeah.
And all this sort of stuff, and blah, 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 and all this. And then we see Mama Bear and the cubs playing in like around the water and all this sort of stuff. And then someone's filming them, and they're like, oh, look, they're playing and all this sort of stuff. And then the Mama Bear looks at the person in the camera, and then the two bear cubs look, and they're like, why are they looking at us like that? And then that's like the end of the movie, and it goes black, and it says, in memory of Ray Liotta.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we're like, okay, that's the end of the movie. Then we get a mid-credits scene. The remaining punk who had run off, that was alive with Eddie and David. He's trying to hitchhike to New York City because him and his buddies were always going to try to go to New York City. He puts a duffel bag in the back of the truck with a bunch of sheep of this truck that he's going to get into. He gets into the cab. They start driving off, and he goes, wait. And he jumps out, grabs the duffel bag, and you realize it's one of the duffel bags of Coke.
Yeah.
That he ended up finding later. And then he eyes the sheep like, yeah, I ain't gonna leave it around you guys, and then gets back into the cab with the truck and then pulls off. And you're like, oh, okay, that was kind of the funny end of the movie. Nope, we get another cutscene. And it's Eddie and David getting home to Eddie's kid at the house. And then David holds up a box with the puppy in it. It's like, oh, is that for me? And he's like, yeah, buddy. And shows it. And then all of a sudden you hear this, and the dog's eating something. And then they're like, what's it eating? And then David starts like looking all over his pockets and goes, oh my God. And then it's his fingers that had been shot off that Eddie had grabbed earlier. And then he looks at Eddie and he goes, I ain't going to put those back on. And then it goes black. And then we get the rest of the credits.
Yeah.
End of the film.
That's it.
Definitely a comedy horror. What was your drum roll, blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts on this film, sir? Would you consider it horror? Where does this movie place in your life?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, again, I don't want to gatekeep horror. This is a creature feature, I mean, it's fine. This movie is inoffensive. I mean, it's funny. It's got its moments of humor. I guess I enjoyed my time watching it. It's just incredibly stupid and nonsensical, and in a directorial sense, but whatever. I mean, it was enjoyable enough for what it was.
Yeah, it did not take itself seriously whatsoever.
No.
And it's definitely a comedy. It's a comedy before horror,
for
I
sure.
would say.
Yeah.
and like I've said throughout this whole thing, to me, it's like one of those family films where they just added gore to it.
Yeah.
They could have done without the gore, and you would have had a family film where they're talking about the bear got into the drugs and all this sort of, and it's going crazy after people. But if it didn't have the gore, it would be a PG-13, PG-ish, it's very much in that style. I'm thinking like movies like Bushwhacked, Without a Paddle, just stupid comedies.
Yeah.
That just, it was just that sort of thing.
Yeah. And that's it. It's a stupid comedy with some gore.
It's not a horrible film. It's not a bad film. We go into things a lot deeper than this than most would. For the most part, it was fun. Yeah. It was a funny film. If you can overlook some of the complete, like, why would he do that type thing?
Yeah.
It's like,
why would this character do that? Why didn't this
which it's our job to point that crap out.
Yeah. But
is it really?
It is. When you are I've said this like with video games before, right? Because I studied game design in college, and so it's impossible for me to play a video game without kind of peering behind the curtain, right? Yeah. And I think the same is true when we're watching a movie, and we're taking notes on it. We're just going to notice all these things, right? That maybe the average person didn't even catch, because that wasn't what they were trying to do. But there were things that made absolutely no sense about how certain things happened, the events, or...
Oh, yeah, and how they led up to each other. And...
Yeah. It's, why did we get shots of the kids eating cocaine and then basically having almost no reaction to it?
Yeah, a lot of people had issue with that scene. They're like, they shouldn't have kids doing drugs. And...
Okay. I get that, yeah.
Because, even to the point where it's like, consequentially, they're like, your parents will be mad.
Yeah.
That was the extent of it.
Yeah.
But then you take, like, I think under certain circumstances, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
But basically... to say if kids were to watch, I get what people are saying on some of it.
Yeah.
If kids were to watch it and they'd be like, "Oh, they had cocaine and it did nothing. Ha ha ha! We should try cocaine." It's like, was it necessary to the whole thing? No, I don't think it was necessary to it. I don't think it added anything to the film. No. Should it have been taken out? I don't really care.
I guess I would argue yes, because you didn't go anywhere with it anyway.
Yeah. It was inconsequential.
Yeah.
But
honestly, that's another good word for this movie, is inconsequential. This movie was inoffensive and inconsequential. I guess it was stupid fun.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. A movie that's there.
This movie exists.
Is it a movie that if someone's just like, man, I just want to watch something and just not really have to think?
Yeah.
I'd be like, let's just pop this on. Have you watched Cocaine Bear? And just watch it for fun.
Yeah.
It's that type of movie. And I would do that. I would 100% do that. So I enjoyed it to that aspect.
Yeah, I did too.
To me, it's definitely not to be taken seriously.
No.
It's the first people that you meet are Christoph, Olaf, and Elsa.
Yeah.
You're getting the characters from Frozen off the beginning, and that's, to me, that was just kind of hilarious.
And I mentioned on Twitter that we're 11 movies into this year of Casters of Horror, and I'm at that point where I'm actually having a difficult time ranking, because I'm ranking all the movies that we watched this year.
Oh, okay.
And I'm already at the point where I'm having a difficult time, because this was not a movie that even goes in the bottom half, I think. you know. So yeah, it's fine.
I mean,
Watch it.
It's not the greatest film I've ever seen, but it was fun.
Yeah,
it really was.
It was stupid fun.
Yeah. So if you guys want a movie that's just kind of fun to lay back and just watch and just kind of be like, hey, I'm just gonna have some popcorn and check a flick out. Yeah, go for it. Check out Cocaine Bear. You guys can stream it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Right now, it is for rent on there, or you can purchase it. But yeah, go check it out. It's worth it. It's a Friday or a Saturday night. Why not type of film? Bring your friend, bring your parents, bring everybody, bring a baby, and just annoy everybody else while they're watching it. Speaking of films that you can bring babies to, you can check out these films that are coming up on the screen right about now. These films are going to be coming out in the next few weeks to months. Either on, up here on the top part is going to be all the ones that are coming out into theaters. Down below are ones that are coming onto streaming or Blu-ray or stuff like that. Anyway, let us know if there's any that you guys want to check out. You can leave them down in the comments below, and make sure that while you're down there, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. So anyway, like we like to do every week, we have a segment that we call Real Stories of Horror. This is something that is having to do with our real world that seems horrific, whether it be supernatural, whether it be extraterrestrial, whether it be monsters attacking us, or predatory authoritarians. Whatever. Anyway, I got this story. This has actually come up on my radar a lot in the last week. And speaking of my radar, it also has come up on the Pentagon's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this one. Yeah. Recently, the Pentagon just released the other day, on March 7th, a draft report stating that they believe that they have found some unidentified aerial phenomena within our very, very close region of outer space. And not in the, outer space, but, within our, what would you call that? Very, very close. We'll just put it this. Very, very close. They found some sort of anomalies within our galaxy that they are identifying possibly the possibility of it being an alien mothership that has been sending down what they call almost like dandelion seeds down to Earth and to different planets around here, trying to find whatever they can find.
Yeah.
But this is coming from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
That they are thinking that this is a real thing.
Yeah.
They're thinking it's very, very possible.
The framing around this story is weird because it like the headlines say that, oh, it's the Pentagon thinks, and it's really more of like, oh, the guy who's writing the report is like thinks it's possible that's what this could be.
It's possible. Yeah. It's possible. With the uptick of UAPs being sighted recently, and with anomalies that they're seeing within radio frequencies and light and all that sort of stuff, within our range, they are wondering if this is a possibility that there is a mothership sending probes down to Earth. So let us know what you guys think. Is there a mothership with sending probes into Uranus? Let us know down in the comments down below, or you guys can write us on castersofhorror@gmail.com and tell us what you guys think. Is someone trying to probe and they're from somewhere else? So anyway, before we head out, there is one last segment that we like to do. It's a little bit of pick or pass. This is something that we've seen in the last week or two that we want to tell you whether or not you should pick it up and check it out or pass on it. It can be movies, TVs, books, games, your mother's favorite recipe from when she was a child. Doesn't matter. As long as it's horrific, we'll be specific. That's our new tagline. As long as it's horrific, we'll be specific.
Okay.
Well, we break down every movie like very we nitpick at it. We are anal. And there's probes that deal with that. Anyway, sir, I'm gonna let you go first.
So my pick of the week, so it's a short film called Moonstruck.
Okay.
Now, this one caught my eye because there's a YouTube channel.
That's not that Cher movie, right?
There's a YouTube channel called Cinema Therapy.
Okay.
And it's this, it's a therapist and a film like director or whatever. They sit down and they go through movies and then like how they relate to like the human psyche, and they go into like therapy. Basically, it's a therapist that talks about them.
Yeah.
Well, the filmmaker guy, this is his short film Moonstruck, and then the therapist actually stars in it along with his wife. So it's kind of a neat little I don't know, it's just
okay,
kind of that's how I came across it, because I have watched some of their
and what's it called again? I mean, not the movie, but the channel.
So the channel is called Cinema Therapy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm kind of interested to check that out now.
Yeah,
because I like the human mind. Fascinates me.
Yeah. So it's a super fascinating, and this guy goes into how, various movies cover, or how he as a therapist reacts to certain movies, and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now this team has done their own short film. It's called Moonstruck, and it's basically, no, it's not the Cher film.
Okay.
Which I know nothing about, but
all right.
Basically, this
Cher
lady,
back in this
wakes up in the middle of the night to getting a whole bunch of like text messages on her phone, and over and over, just nonstop. And it's basically like, "Oh, have you seen it? You got to check this out. It's amazing. It's so beautiful." Meanwhile, there are some other messages saying, "Don't look at it. It's a trap." And then this one of those national alerts comes over her phone saying, "Do not look at the moon." She gets up and she goes downstairs, and there's an emergency broadcast. Stay indoors. Stay indoors. Shut your windows. Whatever you do, do not look at the moon. And yeah,
she looks at it and becomes a pillar of salt.
We kind of go from there, which maybe seems like one member of her family didn't get the warning.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much more, but it's a pretty clever little short horror short film, so it's worth checking out.
Turns into Nicolas Cage.
That's Moonstruck. It's from Telekinesis Entertainment.
Nice. Telekinesis.
Yep.
I like that. I like that.
That's my pick of the week.
So that's definitely a pick for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Very nice. Well, I've got a pick when I'm not watching films or playing games or whatever the hell I'm doing. I like to relax by watching ghost shows.
Me too.
But what? Yeah. I came across a new one this last week, which it started out in 2011. Which I had seen a poster for it, coming across streaming and stuff like that. But this one is also on the Travel Channel, which all the Travel Channel now is all ghost shows.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of that, they're no longer talking about traveling to, like distant places and all this sort of. They're like, no, we're traveling between dimensions.
Yeah.
They're all ghost shows now. But there is a show that is called The Dead Files. And it's based off the premise of a empath who she goes into a house, and she starts reading or can speak with the dead that are there. She can communicate with them. She can feel what they're feeling and all this sort of stuff. But on the opposite end of it, her partner is a former NYPD cop. He's a detective.
Okay.
And he goes and he starts to try to find the information about what happened at this house, what, the history of it and all this. And he talks with the people who live there and all that. And he goes into it finding like the roots of everything that could be causing issues in this house. Like, was there death there? Was there a murder? Was there all this sort of stuff and all this? And her and him do not talk until the final point where they come and they reveal their findings to the homeowners.
Huh.
And we take the cop side, who's done all of his research on everything and everything having to do around that area. And then her side of spending this time talking and being, like going through all the stuff that she's gone through in the home. They'll even go to the point where she'll talk to a sketch artist about some of the people there that are like the main people that are whoever she's been talking to. And they'll do a sketch of who she's been talking to. And then he'll have photographs of people that were prominent in that house. And they'll put the two together so they can see if they line up with the stuff and the information. But it's really cool. It's like Cold Case Files meets like not Ghost Adventures as much, but kind of something like that. It's like it's these two different aspects of coming to the same sort of conclusion. But it's a really, really good show. And I was kind of like, at first I'm like, I don't know. And then I got hooked on it. Like, as soon as episode 1 finished, I'm like, let's check out another one just to see. And then next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, I'm really digging this. But it really is. It's like Cold Case Files, and stuff that haven't been solved, or murders that haven't been solved and stuff like that. And it's worth checking out. But anyway, it's called The Dead Files. It's on the Travel Channel. You guys can see it. It's streaming wherever you can stream Dead Files and stuff like that. I have Philo. I love Philo. Okay. This is not sponsored by Philo, but if they wanted to, I would, be happy if they did. But anyway, you can check it out somewhere there where you can stream anything from the Travel Channel. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Before we leave, make sure you guys hit like and subscribe. We have mouths to feed, not just ours. So, you guys can Venmo us too. I'm not saying you have to, but down below us, I'm pretty sure that's where I have my stuff. Anyway, we'll spread it around. Don't worry. We're not begging for money, but I am. Anyway, yeah. So if you guys want to see this thing continue, please help us. Please sponsor any way that you can. Please, do whatever. I'm not, above that. I have been for a while, but now I'm not. Please, I'm desperate, and I'll sell you my shirt. You want it? Anyway, what film, sir, will we be doing next week?
All right, well, next week we are going to be breaking down another Shudder original. This is Glorious.
Yeah, Glorious, with Mr. J.K. Simmons. I almost said J.K. Rowling, and I'm like, nope, that's a different horror story all on its own right now. So anyway, Glorious with J.K. Simmons. That ought to be another cosmic horror one for you, sir.
Yeah, all right.
I need to get some people stabbing somebody. Yeah. That's what I need. I need some stabby. So there you go. There's a shirt for you. We've been trying to figure out merchandise ideas, and then I think my shirt will just say, "I want some stabby." Anyway, yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you check us out again next week where we cover that film. Again, it's a Shudder original. You can watch it there before we air.
Yep.
thank you for coming and checking this thing out. Until next week, I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane. We'll see ya.
Get the hell out of here. We'll see you guys.